Yep, I ran into myself. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Monthly Mayhem Challenge, week 4. If you're not familiar with what the Monthly Mayhem Challenge is, it's where Matt from the Scale Builders Guild and myself take a platform and try and do something with it that's never been the intended use case for it. In this season, we've got the Traxxas TRX6, and we're trying to turn them into top speed machines. Obviously, these were initially intended to be off-road crawlers and trail trucks, not go fast machines. Last week, during week 3, we put together a 56 mile per hour top speed out of this truck. Fairly impressive until I saw Matt's video and realized that I was 1 mile per hour behind him. That was not a fantastic start to my Wednesday. The very first thing that I did after doing that was I adjusted my gearing a little bit, dropping actually down in gearing to a 12-tooth pinion and a 45-tooth spur gear, and I took it out after work. It's Wednesday. The videos for week 3 went up today, and I found out that Matt is beating me. I'm out immediately to try and see if I can best 57 after the few little changes that I did. There's a big wildfire going on not too far from Sacramento right now, so it's almost like hazy, foggy, cloudy, but that's smoke in the air, and then you'll see like probably dust or whatever, that's ash that's kind of falling everywhere. So I'm at a test spot that I didn't show video of last time. It's a nice smooth asphalt. It's actually like a parking lot area, so a little bit of a different type of situation. Man, you can just see the ash coming off of stuff everywhere. We're back on 4S. I've adjusted the gearing, everything else is the same. I have also brought my other GPS with me. I just want to check the speed compared to the Traxxas app. 0 miles an hour, 16.5 volts. Let's see what it does. $57 there. Whoa. Well, that hurt. Oh no. That was my foot that I just hit. And that hurt. I'm gonna feel that later for sure. Let's see what the phone says for top speed. 57 still. Okay. Whew. That stings. So this week started with a bruised ego and a slightly damaged vehicle. Luckily, with a little bit of heat, I was able to get the body massaged back into shape, and it's not that noticeable really. Luckily, prior to playing human bowling, I was able to match Matt's top speed of 57 miles per hour though. So there was some good that came out of it at least. But then we've got the rest of the modifications that we needed to tackle for the week. This week, my big goal was weight loss, weight reduction, and just starting to try and streamline the car as much as we could. One of the first things that I did also was that I switched from those Bandito tires and 17mm adapters to these Proline Pomona wheels with the Hoosier tires and the Crawler Innovations closed cell heavyweight foams. So I was trying to remove as much rolling mass as possible. These tires were a big help, and with those foams, they don't expand. Another bonus. Further reducing weight, I removed all of the inner wheel wells on this vehicle. If you've ever seen one of these though, the inner wheel wells are also the shock towers. So I went and picked up 2 sets of Traxxas TRX4 Sport shock towers. The inner wheel wells on these vehicles are big, pretty decent amount of weight. So getting rid of those was a good start. Next, the battery tray in TRX4s are fairly good size and bulky as well. So I decided to get rid of the battery tray and make my own. I designed something up quickly in Fusion 360 again. I cut it out of ABS plastic on my CNC router and 3D printed some mounts. It's lower, it's lighter. Again, trying to reduce the weight and lowering the center of gravity is always a good thing. And then we had the servos and electronics that were required for the 2-speed and the locking differentials. Obviously, the locking differentials were not something that I really needed to have in there anymore. So I came up with a very simple design to lock out both the front and rear axles. I came up with a design, 3D printed those, mounted them in place, got rid of all the servos, all the wiring, and I left the cables in there. Also, we had the 2-speed setup. Now, rather than just removing that servo and locking out the shift linkage, I went a step further. I removed the shift servo, the mount that it had as well, and then I went in and I took out the low gear gears inside of the transmission as well as the shift fork. And then I 3D printed myself spacers to take up that area so that everything was properly held in position and none of the shafts were sliding. And the last piece of weight reduction was the rear bumper underpan thing that comes stock on these vehicles that replicates the skid plate that goes under the rear of the AMG G63. While that piece looks very appropriate on this truck normally, for me, it was unneeded weight and it felt like it was a bit of an air scoop in the back. So taking and getting rid of that seemed like kind of a benefit on two sides. But then next we got into more work on the aero package that we've put together on this. A lot of modifications were made this week and a lot of things began to get kind of wrapped up. The first thing that I did is I decided I wanted to lower the underpan on this vehicle by another 10 millimeters. So I cut new side plates on the ground effects on the side. I created a larger front air dam here and I created taller mounts in the front for the underpan to drop everything down. Just trying to get everything a little bit closer to the ground. The new taller air dam I also did in the new black plastic, and then just for a little bit of added style, I put some yellow corner guards on it, just like everybody's favorite Dodge owner. I feel like the look that this thing is starting to evolve into is more NASCAR, while Matt's maybe more F1. One thing that I did notice after last week when I had to change the spur gear out on this vehicle is that my big gnarly under tray on this truck did make it a little bit difficult to actually access some of the screws that I needed from the bottom side to remove the transmission. So I decided to go one step further and design an access panel that could be easily removed from the bottom so that I could get to the screws that I needed to without having to remove all of that under tray, just because there is a chance that I could have to access that again, and I don't want to have to waste time taking off everything that I've built already to do it. Also, while lowering the design of this underpan, I didn't need the diff clearance anymore here, so I closed that up on the next version of the design. This weekend, I also finished the design of the rear half of the under tray, something that we had not finished up to this point. That's a pretty simple rear extension, and it's got the base for a rear diffuser already made into it. The rear underpan in the back has a nice curve to it that's going to allow us to kind of clean the air coming off of the back. I will design in the fins that will go back there so that it actually has that diffuser look. You'll see that in the final week, but more on that in a little bit. Another substantial task that I tackled was this front area where there used to be the large plastic eyebrow that kind of sat over top of the windshield here, a visor of some sort. It was closed on the back side, so air would just get caught underneath of that. Needed to come off. However, all of the mounting for that obviously it leaves some large holes in the roof. So what I decided to do was just locate some carbon fiber vinyl wrap, which I put a call out to some of the local RC groups around here, and a couple of friends said, hey, I have some, come get it. So I was able to knock it out the same day. And then the last bit of aero that we tackled was a new rear wing. You can see here, it's just a flat off the back, fairly low profile, nothing too outlandish, just drag style wing. This we designed up on my Sunday live CAD show where we go through a project from start to finish 3D modeling, and I show you the whole process along the way. That is where we tackled this little package that I've got back here. I was able to get it finished up, cut it out on the router, 3D print the parts that I needed and get it mounted on here. And then I've made this out of ABS as well. Once again, some carbon fiber vinyl on it really makes things look just a little bit fancier than they actually are. The last couple of changes that we made for the week is that I did order up an aluminum motor mount motor plate combo. And I just wanted something that was making sure that I had the motor mounted securely in there. This is a longer motor and we're trying to push a lot of power. So I found an option that I could get quickly, mounted the motor into it and dropped it in the vehicle. And I did jump up 1 tooth and pinion to a 13 tooth pinion at this point. We're still running that 4S 5200 milliamp pack, and then it was time to go test. Back at the test spot, it's Thursday now. Yesterday was the day that I hit myself with the vehicle. Today, I'm sore. We're gonna give this a shot. I have geared down even further now. The fires have continued to spread, so my visibility is absolutely terrible. The ash is really bad and the smoke is really bad. I'm not going to stay outside for too long because it's pretty rough on you to be outside. As well as gearing down, I've also switched to the Hoosiers.
$57 again.
All right, back to testing. It is Monday currently. I'm at the industrial test spot. Our last testing did not go so well, but I've adjusted gearing a little bit. We've finished the under tray and I've put the truck on a significant diet. So I'm hoping to see some sort of actual change from today's testing. But again, the air quality is absolutely terrible here in Northern California. The wildfires are really out of hand, and with the way the winds come, it can really turn things nasty. So that's what we're looking at again today here. So I'm not going to be outside testing too much. I'm going to get some runs done quickly, get everything packed back up, and get back in my vehicle. So that's the situation. That's why you'll see the haze in the air, and this road's a little bit more traffic, so you won't see as much ash on the actual roadway. But anyway, let's get out there and do some testing. Yes! Yes! 60. Yes! Yes! Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Woo! That feels good. $59 that run. It was a little sketchier than the previous. All right, test number 3. $59 again. I'm plenty happy with 60 miles an hour for this setup. I'm going to keep creeping up in pinion gears again now until I see it drop down. I'm happy though. My RPMs on the motor look good as well, so I feel like I'm getting where the motor needs to be. I'm happy with today. I'm probably gonna make one more adjustment and test again this week still, but we'll see. So after all of that work with the weight savings, finishing the aero, moving some things around, tweaking, just all of the effort that we went through that week, we were able to see some solid results. Picking up 3 miles per hour is significant. It was very noticeable how different this car handled, and most of it I attribute to the aero, just with how different it actually felt while driving. It felt much lighter overall. And when I say lighter, I mean that I feel like it was kind of skating on top of the road a little bit more than before. I think with the new completely smooth belly pan, air's flowing under there much easier. And we do have a little bit of a kick up in the back of this rear diffuser area. And I feel like that might be putting a little bit of downforce on the rear, maybe causing a little bit of lift in the front. I'm just not sure 100%. But I do have some ideas of what I'm going to do to counteract it, to just really get this vehicle a little bit more planted. I don't think that it's going to take much, and I don't necessarily want to just create a bunch of downforce anyway, because I want this thing to just get through the air as much as possible. I just want to keep it within that range of control. Hitting that 60 mile per hour mark though felt so good. I was so pumped to see 60 miles an hour. I feel good at this point going into the last week. 60 miles an hour, I'm comfortable with that spot. I know Matt had a bad crash this week and he had a lot of work ahead of him to fix that and then get back on track with where he plans to be. I don't know what his top speed was before the crash though, but I know he was at 57 last week, so he's not far from me regardless. I've got more parts coming in that I've put on order and paid a lot of money for some fast shipping, but I think they'll be here and I think they're going to allow me to push this vehicle harder than what we have so far. I have a few things to change on finishing the aero and changing the aero up just a little bit, but so far I'm pretty happy with it. I do have the final styling changes to make to this before next week's voting. I've got all of my vinyl decals cut. I'm pretty excited to get those mounted on this thing. I'm gonna embrace my inner American. We're gonna do it for Dale and just make this thing loud and obnoxious. And remember that at the beginning of this, we mentioned that there is a 3 mile per hour bonus for style points. And with how close Matt and I are, it could mean everything to win those 3 points. And how Matt and I have decided we're gonna do that is Proline is actually going to host the poll for us on Instagram next Wednesday. On the day that the finale releases for this, Proline is going to post up on Instagram the poll to vote who you think should win. So when we release the finale, Matt and I will both just kind of be sitting on edge to see who's going to win the vote if we're still within 3 miles an hour. I told Matt that I'm going to put American flags off the back diesel stacks and take photos on top of a pile of bacon to win this thing if I need to. I've got to submit 3 photos to Proline for the voting. So if you've got your best American version of a photo shoot that I should be doing, post it below. And then remember that every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific time, after these videos go live, Matt and I do our live takeover where we sit and have a live conversation back and forth where you guys can participate. We talk about the challenge and then whatever else is going on. But that is where we'll find out on the finale week who is going to win for sure. So that's where we're at, guys. I'm excited. This project is absolutely killer. I'm having so much fun. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it as well. If you are, hit the like button on the video, subscribe if you're not already, and hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as they get uploaded. Next Wednesday is the finale. Don't miss it. Thanks as always for watching, guys. I hope you're as excited for next week as I am. We'll see you on the next one.